So you know networking is important to grow your business, but many times you avoid going to networking events because you don't want to get stuck in conversations that you just can't get out of. Hey, I'm Rodger, RodgerMelissa.com, and today I'm going to give you 3 solid ways to get out of any networking conversation without feeling rude. Now, before we get into the details, go ahead and leave us a comment down below with either a yes or a no. Yes, you've been stuck in a conversation before, or nope, that's never really happened to you. If you have had that happen to you, let us know how you got out of it. The first technique is called the follow-up. In the follow-up, the person you're talking to, you're actually really connecting with. This is someone you want in your network. You're someone they probably want in their network. You didn't want to come to this networking event, but because you connected with this person, it made it all worth it. So you're thinking, well, I don't want to end this conversation. It's going well. Well, actually you do, for 2 main reasons. Number 1, this is a networking event. Everyone at the event is there with the goal of making as many good connections as they can. If you two monopolize each other's time, then you're missing out on the opportunity to make other good connections. And the second reason is you probably can't even get to the level of detailed connection that you'd like to with this person at this event. It's probably noisy. There are time constraints. You'll have some interruptions because people are trying to meet either or both of you. You need to take it somewhere else. Here's what you do. When you reach a point in the conversation where you know this is a good connection, that you want to follow up with this person, and you've given it enough time, find a pause in the conversation and say something like this. Hey, I am really glad we've met. I find it really interesting the way that you add value to your customers by XYZ. I know you probably want to meet some other people, but before we go, would you be open to maybe grabbing a quick coffee or a quick bite to eat sometime? I'd love to know more about how you bring value to your customers. Would you be open to that sometime soon? And then wait for the answer, and probably the answer will be yes. And when it is, pull out your smartphone, pull out your pocket calendar, whatever you use, and pick a date and a time and a place so you can make it happen. And then shake their hand, tell them it was great to meet them, and move on. Now, this is a great time to remind ourselves of one very important thing. When you're networking, as is the case with all of your business, always maintain your integrity. In the context of networking conversation, that means never promise anything or say anything just to make it feel easier to get out of a conversation unless you fully intend on following through with that promise. In other words, don't say things like, hey, we should catch up sometime, or hey, we should grab lunch sometime, or send me some information. I'll take a look and let you know what I think. Unless you fully intend on doing that. If you say you're going to do it, do it. Technique number 2 is called the matchmaker. In the matchmaker, the person you're talking with, there may be a decent connection there, but at this point in time, it's not someone that you feel the need to have a further follow-up with. But in the process of the conversation, you've thought of somebody else that this person ought to meet, or somebody else that really needs to meet this person. What you do in the middle of the conversation, when you decide it's time to be done, is you say something like, hey, it's been really great meeting you. I appreciate you sharing with me how you add this value to your customer. Hey, do you happen to know Joe Smith? No? Well, based on what you told me, I think you and Joe ought to meet. Would you mind if I introduced you? Now, if Joe is at the event, right then and there, take this person over to meet Joe. You might have to wait for Joe to be available. Well, when he is, introduce them. More importantly, tell them why you're making that connection. Then shake that person's hand, thank them for their time, and move on. Now, you might be saying, well, won't they just think I just passed them off onto somebody else? Well, sure they will. No, they won't. And the reason they won't is because you gave them something that they were looking for at this event. Although you ended your conversation, you made a connection for them. So if anything, they're probably going to be thankful. So good job. Now, if Joe Smith is not at the event, you can follow up with something like this. Well, I really think you need to meet Joe. Joe isn't at this event, but if it's okay, I could give you guys a virtual introduction, send an email, and then you guys can connect from there and follow up as appropriate. Would that be okay? The answer will probably be yes. Make sure you have his or her contact information and shake their hand, thank them for their time, and move on. Now, the third and final technique, and this is my personal favorite, it's called the epic bail. The epic bail really works in any scenario, and you really do walk away looking good in the eyes of the person that you're walking away from. And the underlying premise that makes this work is the premise that we have in all of our networking, which is give first or provide value to others. So if you're in a conversation and right from the get-go, sometimes this is just not probably going to go anywhere. You say something like this. Hey, it was really great to meet you. I'm sure you want to meet some other people, but before we go, is there somebody else that I can introduce you to? Maybe somebody specific or maybe a specific industry that you're looking to meet? So you see what you did. You're bailing on this conversation, but in the process, you're adding value to this person's networking experience. What are they looking for? Again, at a networking event, they're looking for connections. So you're asking them if you could help them make a connection. And that makes all the difference in the world. I could be very abrupt. You and I could be talking, and all of a sudden I look over here and I go, hey, there's somebody over there that I've really been meaning to talk to. But before I go, it's been great meeting you. Is there somebody else that I could introduce you to? Maybe somebody specific or somebody in a certain industry that you've been wanting to meet? You see, even though, that's an extreme case. I just flat out stopped the conversation, said I wanted to go meet with somebody else, but I took the time to ask you if I could help you first. And that makes all the difference in the world in smoothing our exit out of the conversation. So there you have it. Feel confident about going to networking events, that you're not going to get stuck in conversations that you just can't get out of. You know how to get out of them, and you can add value in the process. So go to those events, make those connections, make that time well spent. So I hope you received some value from this video. If you did, we'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you're new to our channel, consider subscribing and hitting the notification button so you don't miss any of the great videos we put out.